I think Christianity is the most accurate belief when it comes to tracking the truth of theism or atheism. Like just the belief on whether there is or isn't a God. I think it's the most truth tracking and accurate belief. Yeah. You want me to think atheism? Okay. Atheistism, sorry. I mean, I can if you want me to. I don't know. I'm not educated on this subject, but if you want me to, sure. You can definitely do that. Hold on. You said that God's existence is an equivalent to his essence or his attributes, like his properties. Yes or no? You're agnostic? Okay, well, I do think essences are identical. Oh my God. They are identical to your existence, unless you're talking about a different type of thing of which exists. But beyond that, I don't know if this is going to be too relevant towards the actual like conversation about theism. But I mean, beyond that, you can give me your deductive valid argument. Sorry, what? What did you want to say? Hold on. Okay, I mean, if you're just disagreeing with all of that, I don't see the relevance of bringing that up because I haven't even posited a view of like me supporting anything whatsoever. So I think the only thing that really matters is your deductively valid argument for God existing, theism. What do you define God as? What does it mean to have maximum causal power? Can you talk while drawing a drop? Oh my God, typing it and sending it or no? Would you like to do one or the other? Like, as in two at the same time or one then the other? I didn't hear what you said. Excuse me, I asked you the question. ask you a question, sorry. My question was, do you want to drop your argument now and then we talk about it immediately, or can I ask you some questions about like what you mean by maximum causal power, for example? I know you're gonna drop. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Can you type it, by the way? Like drop it in chat. Don't just type it in chat. Do you have it written out or no? If you don't have it written out, I can just jot it down myself, I guess. Sure. Excuse me. No, this isn't gonna work. Excuse me, this isn't gonna work. I apologize. Excuse me. I'd like to interrupt. I don't fully understand everything you're saying because of a difference in a language barrier. We, have two different accents, so I'd prefer it if you could just write it out, please and thank you, and then send it to me. I don't think it'll take very long. I don't think you have a very, very long argument now. Okay, thank you very, very much. Yes. Okay. What do you mean by an efficient cause? So I have a question. Would you say that uh, brute facts, sorry, would you say that brute facts would be efficient causes or no? would you say that those are efficient causes, or would you just say, I mean, they're not efficient causes because I just don't believe that facts exist, or yes, but we're talking about something of which brings something into existence, yes? So the thing of which brings something into existence is the thing just existing to begin with. That is the cause. Okay? It happens by itself. There's no further explanation. It's its own cause. So in that case, would you say that it's an efficient cause or no? Do you think that? Oh, sorry. Are you finished? I don't want to interrupt if you're not finished. Okay. Um, so are you trying to make the claim then that the only brute fact is God, or no? No, if it causes God, God causes himself or itself, and in response, God causes everything. I mean, question, what do you mean by maximum causal power? Because depending on your definition, you might have to believe that there are no other brute facts besides God themselves or itself. So causal effect, omnipotence. So would you say then that something with the maximum causal power, such as an omnipotent being, can come into existence after being caused by something else, and then contain more power in some logically possible world or whatever? Would you say that that's something of which can occur? No. I know you have a belief of God. I'm just sort of saying because you're talking about, I guess, having omnipotence, just automatically meaning you have the greatest causal power. Well, I mean, if that's what you wait, that's the only thing you define as God as, sorry, or did you also add omniscience as another condition, prerequisite to be God, or was it just simply maximum causal power? So you strictly care about defending the belief that an omnipotent being exists, pretty much. Okay. I mean, if you're saying that God has to be a brute fact, but then you're just saying that to have maximum causal power, you just have to be omnipotent. Well, in some logically possible world, unless you think there's a contradiction with this, there is a being or there is such thing of an omnipotent being or concept of which is not the first cause. It is not a brute fact, unless you think there's a contradiction of that, as I said prior. So, do you have a response to that? Because I think that's already an issue with that definition. I think that's, a nice debunk to that definition, a reductia, if you would say it as that. Sorry, can I get like a repeat or a further explanation on that? I'm not quite sure on like how what you said sort of, I guess, like adequately responds to what I said, where you prove that there is no contradiction or inconsistency. Mm. So you believe that there is a contradiction in human perception failing to capture everything of which can be created through omnipotence or for the capabilities of omnipotence. What is the contradiction in that? Why is that impossible? Why do you think it's impossible for the perception of human beings, the imagination of human beings to fail in that case? I'm sorry, what? That sounds like a contradiction to your own view because you just said that God is just something of which cannot be greater than anything of which you can conceive, but then you're saying that we cannot actually conceive of his full attributes or its full capabilities. That sounds like a contradictory definition, unless I misunderstood or misrepresented something of what you said. You cut out. Okay, what did you say then? What was the purpose of you bringing that up then? To inform me that some people believe in this. That's what you mean to inform me of, or what? Yeah. I mean, can we just go back to the original thing then? You're saying that this being can be omnipotent and then just basically have maximum causal power, sorry. But if you're saying that God is a brute fact, you're saying that, and you're also saying that he's the only brute fact, you're saying that everything stems from the existence of God, and God creates the existence of everything else. Well, the sort of issue with that is that definition, I don't think, actually leaves for some necessary lack of, I guess, like correspondence to like some possible world in which there is some omnipotent being or thing of which is not the first cause and it is not a brute fact. So why do you believe that if you're omnipotent you have to be the first cause or whatever if you're committing to that? If you're not committing to that, what is your view now? So I should just look at your deductive argument now or anything else? So you said you don't hold to those views. So if you don't hold to those views, what's the relevance of this? Are you just saying like, oh, I don't see how that's relevant whatsoever? Can you explain the relevance of that? I don't think that carries any relevance to this. I didn't say prior to God necessarily. I said after God. I said after God. And if it's after God, and after God there's some omnipotent being, then they have maximum causal power. And if you're saying that God is a brute fact, and everything stems from the existence of the initial cause, which is God, which creates everything else, then if you accept whatsoever that there is a logically possible world in which a being is omnipotent, which is not the first cause, then that is a concession upon your original belief. So which you already agreed with, like you already disagreed with, like the contrary. So I'm not really sure as to how you're responding to this whatsoever. What am I not understanding? I don't. You said I believe that the universe is contingent. Sorry to interrupt. Is that what you just said now? Current universe, or wait, the current universe, or the beginning of the universe? Okay, why are they contingent? Why can't the initial like universe be a brute fact? Why does it have to be contingent? Also, wait, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'll also bring up infinite regresses beyond just brute facts, so I guess we can tie them both in because I think they're both important. You can talk about brute facts now, but if you think that, I guess an infinite regress rebuttal to the actual proposition is important enough to speak about like right now, then you can talk about it. I'm sorry for interrupting you. This will be the last interruption for a while. You may now continue. Okay, bring up that. I guess. Okay, hold on. I guess bring up that paradox later. Or I'll just write down that we can talk about the paradox later. You said and, so say what you were going to say, and then let's just talk about the brute facts because that was the original subject. Yep. Hold on. Okay, so you brought up contingencies once again. I think probably like what's going to be completely like important towards addressing everything is just going to be your critique with an infinite regress, or do you think like your critique also has to be addressed through the means of talking about the brute facts critique, or no? What do you think about that? Do you think we have to talk about both, or do you think your response counters both, so I don't have to talk about them separately? Well, I know you can talk about both. The question was, do you think that your response addresses both in a single go, or do you think we have to go through multiple conversations, as in more than one? It'll be two to talk about both of the critiques. Okay, let's talk about the first one then. Let's talk about the infinite regress. Wait, you want to talk about the other one? What did you want to talk about?
going on, guys?
No, the concept of
Oh,
entropy, is that what you just said?
this guy ESL?
Yep. I think go ahead. No, I can hear you. I was just saying go ahead. Continue what you were saying. I apologize. Repeat that very last part. If we, accept that there is an infinite regress, entropy presents a problem due to what? The very last part. Mhm. The universe would have reached what? One more time. Maybe you write that out. I'm not understanding that specific part of what you're saying. I understood everything else. I apologize for the constant repeats and everything. I'm kind of doing my best to sort of have a conversation with you, but I have limitations, of course. Equilibrium end state. Okay, what do you mean by an equilibrium end state? Sorry. Why would it have reached an end state if you're also saying it would have been infinitely growing? I'm not sure why there would have been an end state an infinitely great time ago. No, I understand. I'm not saying that you were saying that. That's not what I was trying to communicate a second ago. I'm just asking you as to why that would follow. Why would we have reached the equilibrium end state an infinite time ago if this is exactly how such a thing works? Okay, mathematically speaking, if the entropy is always increasing, yes, it's always going up, why would it have gone to its maximum an infinitely great time ago? How does that work mathematically speaking? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That seems contradictory to the definition of infinity itself. And beyond that, it's just contradictory in concept because you're talking about an increase while you're also talking about a limit being hit a while ago, an infinite time ago, of which you cannot surpass that limit. Okay, what if the joules are just constantly changing? So before they reach the heat death of the universe, they stop at whatever period, and then that just continues ad infinitum. It goes on infinitely. Before the heat death of the universe occurs, the joules change. Whatever part of the universe is constituted of a specific way of which the joules will increase over time. As there is some continuation, the joules will decrease over time, as we're also having the same, sort of framework of time here. So the time is infinitely going, sure. It's infinitely going backwards and it's infinitely going forwards. But in both cases, you don't reach the heat death of the universe. I'm not sure as to why time would turn back. We can talk about that in just a moment. But you're giving me a deductive argument. And I don't really need to give you an argument as to why entropy would decrease at any certain point. I don't need to do that. All I need to do is just to show that your argument doesn't follow by necessity. I know you think it does. That's why we're having the conversation, but I'm just saying that's sort of my purpose here. I'm just meant to critique your thing, your argument and your belief. Yes, this is what you asked me to do from the beginning, so I'm attempting to critique it. I agree with theism, sure, but you asked me to critique theism. It's vertical causation. High level entities exceed lower level entities. Is this what you just said? Okay, lower level entities. Okay, you're saying it's different from, horizontal sequence of temporality, yes? And in that case, in the horizontal sequence of temporality, you would see dominoes falling. So what's different about the vertical? Okay. So let's talk about the entropy thing once again. So you said that there was an issue with the entropy of the universe decreasing. You also said that if there's entropy decreasing, there's evidence that time would go backwards. Now, I'm not really sure as to why that'd be true. If you have multiple critiques about the entropy issue, tell me the multiple. But if you have a singular one, which is just the one of which time is just going to go backwards, then just tell me about that one. You haven't posited so far though that you haven't posited the scientific evidence of. Sorry, I'm trying to recollect what you said, but what you did say was that if entropy within the universe were to decrease, that time would go backwards. You haven't posited that evidence yet. I don't believe you have. If you have, what was the evidence? Oh, by definition. Okay. So for entropy, are you just talking strictly about the randomness, or are you also talking about like an actual like aspect of the universe, like the heat increasing or whatever? Because you're saying if the entropy increases over and over again, at the end of it, it's going to cause the heat death of the universe. And basically, that's to say that time can't go on infinitely forwards and infinitely backwards with an infinitely regressing kind of time. Who the fuck is joining?
Yo, bye. Hey guys.
Nice, great.
Hey guys,
Great fucking to see you.
What's going on? Hey guys,
Tohno randomly DM'd me. He was like, "You want to talk about theism?" I'm like, "Sure. Just give me your argument. Let me see it."
Oh shit. You're atheist? Oh.
No, I'm not an atheist. I believe in God.
May God be with you.
He just asked me to like DA for the combo.
Oh, sorry. Do you hear the construction in the back?
No, I don't.
All right.
We're good.
Alright, I was about to say.
Yo, nigga, you're not Hikaru.
Yo, I think it is not fucking me.
Construction. That's not construction, man.
That thinks he's Hikaru.
This nigga creative ass brain, bro. Shut your bitch ass up. Easily, you're ahead of a geek.
Nigga activated a whole ass domain on my ass.
You made a whole ass edit because of my profile, bro. Holy shit. Extra dickhead, bro. Look at DMs. Look at DMs. Why are you beating it like that?
Damn, good beating that shit.
Do you have the audio?
Tohno, nice conversation about theism. I think I'm gonna end it now. Nice talking to you. Have a good night. I'm not gonna like leave. I'm just like ending the conversation because I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yo, Tohno, why are you doing him like that, bro? Why don't you want to talk about theism, bro? Alright, look, you think that God doesn't exist? Okay, if God doesn't exist, how are you created? Okay, that's ad hominem fallacy. What the fuck are you even saying, nigga?
Oh, God.
Scam caller fallacy, bro. Holy shit. Oh shit, I'm slamming? Bro, hi. Wait, not hi. Fucking. What was your alias before Serenity? Fucking.
Big H Bob. Big H Bob. Big H Bob.
Why are you talking to Tohno, bro?
You
understand
it.
it.
Like,